Welcome back to Up the Villa podcast, and welcome back to our Up the Villa football phone-in. It's going to be great to hear some of the views of the Villa fans, see what they've got to say, see what they've made of the weekend's football, and then just general football chat. So we'll bring in Ivan to start with. How are you, mate?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Luke. Yourself?
Good stuff. Yes, it's been a while since I've spoke to you, really. So, first off, what's your thoughts on the where we're at, what we've done? Probably, I think I speak to you just before Christmas. So, we had a good January, didn't we? So, what have been your thoughts on Emery and the style of play?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it has been a good January, although I think some people need to remember that based on Saturday's game. It has been really positive, hasn't it? And I think that what's impressed me most with Emery is his ability to kind of, see how games are changing in front of him. I'd actually include Saturday and the Leicester game in that as well. And I think the changes he made at half time sort of bear that out. And I think, possibly said this before on various sort of forums, but I mean, I think it's quite refreshing to see someone in charge of our team who can make those kind of in-game decisions, but then equally vary it from game to game and side to side. And I think that's what teams do, isn't it? Or successful teams do. I think there has to be an awareness, though, that it's early days, isn't it? And it's not just going to be, we're not just going to fly, for the next 17, 18 games. And I think that, there's that really hard thing as for not just Villa fans, but any football fan of kind of almost just maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. And I think that some of the reaction to the Leicester game was that, I mean, my lad's only 11, so I let him off, but like he was, really playing his face in the first half, like he just had them all off, and you just have to remember that actually this is, essentially a lot of squad of players that has played under two different managers, now a third. And actually, we're seeing so much positivity, but we just need to sometimes remember, I think, that it's a gradual process, isn't it? It's not going to be overnight,
Yeah, you make a great point, and I just feel like, I'd say, especially where my sort of expectation sort of lied, is you are right in the fact that we're not going to win every game. Like we're basically not that good, are we? We can't do that. So we have to take the January vibe of, having a brilliant month, because which it was, we was unbeaten and Emery was up for manager of the month. And then, you just kind of feel like we had that little carrot, didn't we? And it was like, win today and you'll get into the top 10. Yeah. And I think we all sort of thought, yeah, we can do this. Of course we can.
Well, because we won it, don't we? We won it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course we do. And I think that there was a sense of like, probably for the first time, even under Emery, that it was a game. It was probably a game we all thought we should win. And, and because you won it and you feel you should, then, but sometimes that doesn't happen, does it? And I think, therefore, the disappointment was more in a sense, because you kind of, but then I agree, like it was that opportunity, I mean, it's easy to say now, and obviously the results, we'd have been ninth and all this sort of thing. But maybe, again, that's just a little reminder at the moment that probably 10th, 11th is probably where we're at,
Yeah.
And actually, that might change over the coming games. And I hope it does, I guess. But I think it's just that, again, that reminder that maybe this is just the kind of level that we're currently at, and that's okay. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're not Leeds, or I'm glad we're not Southampton,
Yeah, and I you make another good point that our best place so far, being back in the Premier League, is 11th place, and we're 11th at the minute. So, we got, and I know that Emery will be pushing the squad, because that's just the way he is, isn't it? He will be pushing this team to be better and to speed up the things that we're doing, because that's the type of manager he is, isn't he? He's not happy for us to just be okay. He wants us to, play expansive football. So I think he's probably learning as well, like you say, how far we can push what we got at the minute. So
Yeah, absolutely.
let's go back to the game then. So I've highlighted in my debrief today and everything what went wrong. So I'll ask you a question, the same one, what did go wrong? But was there anything that you saw that you took away as a positive?
Yeah, well, I think ironically, we're just feeding actually on what you said before about kind of learning, and I think that actually the positive was that we're clearly still going to try and learn, and we're going to try things, wasn't it? And I mean, it would be easy to, for you to, doing your debrief, for me to come on here and say, well, I mean, playing around at the back, that clearly doesn't work, does it? But okay, they made a terrible mistake at 1-0 up that, probably changed the game in many ways. But actually, the most refreshing thing is that they, Martinez has come out after and said, well, yeah, but we ain't going to stop doing it. We need to keep, if they want to progress and they want to develop, then that is going to be really important. So I think almost there's in the negative of how the game changed around that Kamara kind of mistake, that there is a positive in the sense that, well, you know what? If we want to be a better team, this is what we're going to have to try and do. And yeah, it doesn't look great. And it, I mean, of course,
it don't look great when it goes wrong, does it?
Well, yeah, but
when it goes,
if it goes wrong, there's some mad stats about Saturday's game, isn't it? About this, I think it's the most passes Villa have made in any game all season, and you think, so something is happening, and again, a lot of shots. I mean, we're all aware there's an issue maybe with how clinical we are, but again, as a style of play and things beginning to sort of sounds bizarre after losing 4-2, doesn't it? But things beginning to click in certain ways, and I think it goes back to that point that it's a gradual process. And when you've got, good performances again, I mean, I did some player ratings for Ryan, and like a guy on Twitter commented on the fact that we gave Buendia 7 and was like, how have you only given him 7? Like, if we'd have won the game, you'd have given him a 9. And then, you know what? He had a point in a sense, because he did. I mean, it's probably the best I've seen Buendia play probably at Villa Park. I think I saw him away at Burnley last season. He was very good, but he's probably the best. So there's something happening. It's kind of working, but it goes back again. Sorry to repeat it, but it goes back. It's got to be a gradual process, isn't it? You're not suddenly just going to wipe the floor with everyone, as we'll see, I'm sure, over the next couple of games.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that Villa haven't been for a very, very, very long time is a team that likes to take care of the football. Yeah. And what we are seeing is, okay, whenever I look at stats of whenever we've played, say, Man City, and we've got battered and that they've had 500 and something passes, well, we were in the 500 passes ratio mark against Leicester. So we are having more of the ball, which is, it sounds mad, but if you've got the ball, the opposition can't hurt you, sort of thing. But, I know we played out from the back and had a mare, forget that. But, if you've got the ball, that should be the safest place. Do you know what I mean? So I think as it evolves, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing how that can evolve us with the ball and just seeing how we go then. So we have got Man City coming up on Sunday. And today there's been some big news that they are in trouble with the Premier League. Finally, over 100 incidents that's now being looked at, spanning over 9 years, from 2009 to 2018. They won the league 3 times in that period, and they've allegedly broke FFP, where you can only spend what you earn. If you inflate what you earn and hide your spending, you can wriggle yourself around it. And they're alleged on many different things, such as paying a manager too much money, UEFA fair play. They've not really cooperated with this Premier League inquiry, which has been going on. They were banned from Europe in 2020, which then went to the Court of Arbitration, and that got turned over. But this one feels like there's no place to hide, because the Premier League have set a no time bar on it, which means that it can go back as far as it needs to go back. It can be looked at as far back as it needs to. What's your vibe on that?
Well, it's massive, isn't it? I mean, I lived in Manchester for a long time, so I've got quite a few City kind of mates, and they all like to believe that this is some kind of conspiracy against them, which, I mean, it isn't. I mean, some of this goes back, a decade. You know what I mean? This isn't just sort of plucked out of anything. I think my worry is, like, if you imagine, they've probably got, the Premier League have got like a menu of sanctions they could impose on City for some of this, and it'll take, given that it's taken the Premier League 4 years to work out the charges, it will probably take a long time for it to come back. But when they look at that, my worry is that what sanctions do they potentially hit City with? Because if it's just a fine, if they fine them, I don't know, £500 million, City don't care, do they? I mean, it doesn't mean anything, So I think if there is a real, genuine desire to kind of uncover some of this, there has to be some repercussion that would actually, genuinely kind of impact that club. And I don't particularly wish them well. As ill, I've got lots of friends, been to watch City a few times, separate to Villa and so on. But actually, you can't just ride roughshod over the rules, And I think as well, like, City fans would say, well, what about all these other clubs? Well, actually, other clubs have been sanctioned, haven't they? I mean, Chelsea, around the transfer bans and things like that. So, there is precedence. The difference, as you say, is it's over a long time, and the amount of charges sort of being levelled is mad. I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether that galvanizes them on Sunday afternoon, but
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see what happens, because if it was the EFL, they'd have them playing Sunday League football by now, wouldn't they? What the EFL do for something so, like, not so major. It'll be interesting to see what the Premier League do. So I think all this sort of plays into Villa's favour a little bit, though. All this uncertainty now. Pep's going to be aggy. They've just lost to Spurs.
Yeah.
They're not actually playing that great in Man City side of things. So I know it's early in the week, but what are your sort of feelings?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they aren't playing well, and I mean, I watched the majority of their game yesterday, and I mean, as everyone's been, Haaland didn't have a shot on goal. I'd be surprised if that happens 2 games in a row, but yeah, I mean, they don't look quite as slick as they have. I still think it's going to be a big, tough ask, I think, to go there and do something. I think the difference, given, I mean, our record at the Etihad is terrible, isn't it? And I've seen some awful games there, and I mean, but I think the difference is possibly with Emery is that there will be a plan, won't there? There isn't. It's not just going to be kind of, well, we'll go there and see what we can get. There will clearly be a plan. I'd be amazed if McGinn doesn't come back into the side. I think away at City, a kind of bit more energy in that in that midfield is sort of where they all kind of buzz around. I think that would be a move that I would look for. Bit of a decision, I think, to make around left back. I mean, I think people were probably quite surprised Luca Dean started on Saturday, and obviously he was taken off at half time. But I think Moreno possibly didn't have a great half either in the second half. So I think there's maybe a bit of a decision around that. I suspect that Dean started because of his defensive attributes. So again, it's probably not beyond the pale that he might start again on Sunday afternoon. But I think the difference probably in past years where we've gone to City is that, as I say, is that Emery will, I would hope and think that he'll have a specific plan to counter certain aspects of the way they play. But it might come down to chances again, and Watkins, Bailey, assuming they both start. They're not going to give up probably loads of chances, City. Therefore we've got to take them perhaps a little bit better than they did on Saturday.
Well, it wouldn't surprise you if we got a couple of chances and scored a few, and then when we had loads, we just can't hit nothing, can we? So
well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I know you are a big Watkins fan, so it'll please you that he's had 5 goal involvements in the last 7 games as well. So he gets a lot of stick, but he's backing it up with a couple of numbers now, and his celebration looked as if to say, like, he's doing that sort of like, I'm in control, don't worry, I scored. So I don't know.
I feel for him, Luke. I really feel for him. I mean, it was silly, isn't it? I mean, I shouldn't. You don't care particularly about what people think, probably, and rightly so. But I just, again, I've said to you before, people sit around me and the one time the ball bounces off him when it goes forward, they say, they're shouting at him, oh, he can't hold the ball up, but actually he does an incredible amount of good work holding the ball up and bringing people into play. And I think his goal on Saturday was a great finish. And we can, we then focus on what happens next, and that the one where he got his feet mixed up and he couldn't finish. But I just think we've got to really back him because it's the only option. I mean, I know Duran looked quick and physical when he came on, but I don't know. He's clearly going to go with Watkins for the next 17 games. So let's get behind him.
Definitely. And his attributes of what he actually does do, are kind of crucial to how we play at the minute anyway. So
that's why he sold Ings, wasn't it? He sold Ings because he's not Ollie Watkins, essentially. Because Ings couldn't bring those things that Watkins can bring. And I think that you'd imagine if in the summer, if they are looking at a striker, it will be someone with a similar kind of gameplay in the sense of kind of that sort of press. But we'll see.
Cool, Ivan. It's been great talking to you. Great little convo with you. So thanks for coming on,
Lovely.
mate.
Cheers. Yeah. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa. Next up, we'll go with Ellis. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So thoughts on the weekend, Villa, where we're at, what you're expecting come now until the end of the season?
Well, I think starting with Saturday, it's peak Villa, and we get in a really good place. We can go top half. We're all excited. The Villa Park's buzzing, and then we just don't quite get there. But I think because we were so close to getting there, it's impacted people more, and that's where the overreactions have come. Because obviously it's gutting. I was really confident going in on Saturday. I thought we could beat them and we could proper make a statement on the league, but it didn't happen because we're not there yet. Like Ivan said, I think we're all just getting a little bit carried away because we're not there yet. But we've got the facilities now. We've got the world-class manager. To a certain extent, we've got the team. There's a few modifications, but we've got the team, and we can go and we can make our way up the league. And there's the issue that I think you're going to bring up of playing out from the back. But if you look at the league and you look at the teams in the top half, I'd say 9 out of 10 of them play out from the back. It's how the best teams play. And Emery wants us to be a top team. And I feel like to get there, it's the way that has to be done. And we will make mistakes because Man City make mistakes, Liverpool make mistakes, but it's the formula to get to Europe, and Emery wants us to get there, and I trust him to get there myself.
Definitely, and there's going to be players that currently play for Villa in this 11 that will not play for Villa next season or the season after or the season after that. Hopefully we've still got Emery. So, it's about setting the blueprint for what's to come and that identity and philosophy so that, say, for example, Carlos is coming back in, he's only ever played 2 games for Villa, but he'll be watching Villa and he'll be speaking to Emery, and Emery will be telling him, look, this is how we play. This is how you slot in. This is what we expect. And vice versa for any transfer that comes in. So I think that's, it's important that, we turn our nose up at some players in January because or for whatever reason, but there's a certain player that will be coming into Villa to fit a system and a position, and they're then having to execute how we want them to play. So, you know, you are right in what you're saying because all the top teams play out from the back. I mean, you know, I remember when we had James Collins at the back and Dunn, and, you know, Colin, he used to just boot that ball. Every time he got that ball, he would just boot it. And that's one of the things that I've always hated from Villa, the fact that, you know, you boot it and basically you're having a duel with a centre-back and a striker. Normally, the centre-back's going to come out on top because he's got more of a better position to head the ball, win the ball. And then you lose possession and then you're having to fight to win the ball back. So if you start with the ball, it's in your hands, isn't it, to work the ball? So I'm a fan of it. I think, you know, like you say, like everyone says, you know, I'm annoyed that we made a mistake, but I watched Spurs v Man City, and, you know, Man City were knocking it around the back, one loose pass, and you know, they've lost the game on that error. So, you know, we're moaning about a goal we conceded, although we conceded another 3. But you know, the top teams do it. So, so it was frustrating, and we just got to learn from it, haven't we? We've just got to learn from it. So, you know, where are you at then, Man City? It's going to be a tough game, isn't it?
100%. Like, they're just a different animal, but that animal looks like it's getting to the end a little bit. They're looking a bit tired at the minute, but I think, like I say, under Emery, I back him. I think he's one of the best managers in the world, and that's not any over exaggeration in my book. I think he's a world class manager, and he'll have a plan. And I'm not entirely sure about this. I might make myself look like a mug, but I think Emery did well against Man City when he used to play for us, when he used to manage Arsenal. So I think Emery will have a plan, and I think if we can execute it right, why not beat them? Spurs beat them. We beat Spurs. I think we've got a chance of beating anyone in this league, realistically.
I mean, gone are the days where, I mean, there was a period where we were getting absolutely battered by Man City every time we played them. It was 5, it was 6s, it was 4s. The last couple of times, it's actually been quite close, to be fair. And we've actually been in the game. I mean, we go back to early on at the season. God knows how Steven Gerrard got a 1-1 draw against Man City. And this was prime Man City. This was when Haaland was like in absolute beast mode up front. And now they're struggling to get the ball to him. They've sort of lost a little bit of they've lost a bit of their identity. And again, Tyrone Mings had a fantastic game against Haaland last time. I've watched, who was it that came on for Arsenal or started the game against Arsenal and really roughed him up? They were just roughing up Haaland, and then I saw Spurs do it as well, and they restricted him. So I think, you know, Mings is going to enjoy a little bit of, you know, a tussle with him and make life difficult again, because that, for me, seems how you can sort of stop him a little bit.
And it is an interesting one, Haaland, because, as I said to you earlier, as part of my opposition article, I always focus on a key thing. And I saw in the week Jamie Carragher say something about, has Haaland maybe picked the wrong team? And at first I thought, 25 goals in 20 league appearances, what's he on about? But I've actually reading into it and looking at it, and he's got a point. He's joined from a counter-attacking team in a counter-attacking league that he's absolutely smashed. He's come here, he's had a very good start, but now Man City are conceding more, and it's because Man City have possession. They're a possession-based team, but to play counter-attacking football to suit Haaland, who's getting all these goals, they're not having as much as the ball, which is leading them to conceding more goals. And there's little things like that. Yes, he's doing brilliantly, and he is a good player, but does he quite suit Man City's team? Has he made the right decision? And it's just a bit of a difficult one.
Yeah. Well, it does feel like City are, and he does this, doesn't he, Pep? He tinkers a little bit, and he has a little bit of a mess about, and it feels like his little experiment has started to deviate from how good they were doing at the start of the season. I mean, Haaland's on 25 goals, he's done brilliant, but he's not scoring as frequently as what he was when he was getting 3 hat-tricks every game. So,
Exactly.
They've had a bit of a mess about, and I think that's probably affected them a little bit. And Villa will be looking to, clean. Well, I mean, come on, we're trying to cling on to anything that we can get.
Yeah.
Any little hope we can get from this game, then let's just try and cling on to it as much as we can. So, so it will be difficult, and
But going back
to work on.
At this point, yes, Haaland's scoring all these goals, but at this point, they've scored a very similar amount of goals as they did last season on the 20-game mark or whatever it is. They're just less people scoring and conceding more. So has he improved them as a team? I'm not entirely sure that he has, to be honest with him. I think he's very slightly holding them back. But
yeah. Cool. Right, so we'll wrap it up there then. So, Ellis, cheers for coming on, mate.
No worries.
Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Cool. So I just thought we'd get some thoughts of the Villa fans, Ivan and Ellis. It's been great having them on the show. We've got a full week of content coming up as well. We've got our match preview, predicted lineup, press conference. I'll try and get another football phone-in just before the game against Man City as well. So be sure to drop a comment, hit the like button, get involved if you want. If you want to come on the show, message me on social media, and then we can get you on and you can come on and have your say as well. So cheers everyone for watching. Up the Villa.